Okay, so this is a tad creepy, like I just did the Destiny Hero ones, and what comes out later today? The Windwitches. Dude, I hope you didn't turbo this out in one day. Although I'll explain why the video is less than 4 minutes. But I hope you spend actual time on this. I'm not saying you just, considering Destiny Heroes did come out like 2 weeks ago, that you didn't. At the same time, it comes out specifically on the same day. I can't help but raise a little red flag. And you can't really blame me for it now, can you? But anyway, let's get into the support for Windwitches.
Hello guys, S-Code9 here, and welcome to another episode of What If Support, where I take old archetypes that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has made over the years and give them support which I think would be fitting. Today, we're talking about Windwitches. Windwitches were a wind attribute synchro deck which mostly consisted of spellcaster type monsters that were used by Rin in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 anime. Arc 5 introduced some of the most new archetypes out of any other Yu-Gi-Oh! Series. However, while some archetypes like Performer Pals and, unfortunately, Melodious got plenty of support, other archetypes weren't really so lucky. I mean, some archetypes only got a few cards printed in real life, whilst most archetypes from Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, for better or for worse, weren't printed at all. For the most part, it's a shame too, because I really don't like some ideas like this going to waste. Don't get me wrong, Windwitches do actually make a pretty good synchro engine for some wind attribute archetypes like Speedroids, but I kind of feel sad for how this and many other archetypes from Arc 5 were hastily rushed. In my eyes, with the right support, Windwitches could actually be a pretty good synchro archetype, and a lot more than an engine, so I decided to come up with some support myself. When studying Windwitches, their main focus was both field swarming and burn damage, so I decided to focus a bit on them. Also, when making these cards, I still tried to fit into the whole theme of being a wind engine for synchro decks, so yeah, there's still some of that in there. Also, since the archetype's original purpose was synchro summoning, I won't be including any fusion support. So with that said, this is my take on support for Windwitches.
Windwitch Stormbound, level 1 wind monster. Spellcaster effect, 400 attack, 500 defense. When this monster is normal summoned, inflict 400 damage to your opponent. Inflict 400 points of damage to your opponent for each Windwitch on the field. And if you do, this card gains 1 level for each Windwitch monster on your field. You can ask special summon in monsters from your extra deck for the rest of the turn, except wind attribute monsters. Pretty good effect off the top. Level 1 monster, quick summon. Not to mention, it does good burns for up to, let's say you have 6 monsters on the field, including itself. 2,400 points of damage on summon. And not to mention, if you do have 6 monsters, this thing becomes level 7. But let's base facts here, folks. Level manipulation in the tune in a synchro archetype is always very handy. Plus, let's face it, you can't special summon for their extra deck except wind monsters. That's just a common sort of cost nowadays. So, off to a good start. Next. Windwitch Flight Spell, level 2 wind monster. Spellcaster tuner effect, 1200 attack, 600 defense. Effect reads, if your opponent would activate a card effect that would destroy or target a wind attribute monster you control, that's a mouthful, you can discard this card from your hand to the graveyard, and if you do, negate that effect. So it's effect rather. If this card is in your GY, you can target one or more non-tuner Windwitch monsters in your graveyard. Banish this card and that lose targets. If you do a special summon one wind attribute synchro monster from your extra deck whose level equals the total levels of the banished monsters, you can only use this effect of Windwitch Flake Bell once per turn. Ah, I see. It's Shiranui Spectral Sword, but for wind monsters. That means Sean Largest will love it. But honestly, this is a really good card at the top. Given the fact that I believe the Windwitch synchro monster has 5 or 6 stars, so it's a low level. I'm sorry. As I mentioned, well, of course, you can go into Clear Ring with Crystal, and there are a lot of wind synchro monsters. Hell, you can make Stardust, but they're not Stardust Spark. Right. Though I really like the fact that you can just banish wind monsters and make an instant synchro summon. Plus, you can just have this thing be effect railer and get in the graveyard quickly, which is something that some of the Shiranui cards have troubles with. Considering if you don't get out some certain ones, you're kind of boned. So this is really handy. I kind of wish it negated and destroyed, but whatever. I guess effect failure is good enough considering the fact that you're also getting a phantom synchro because of it. So, good card. Next. Windwitch Cold Bell. Wind attribute level 3. Spellcaster effect 1600 attack, 800 defense. If your opponent takes effect damage from a Windwitch monster, except there's no S, there's no C, there's an S. Grammar Nazi. From this if your opponent takes effect damage from a Windwitch monster, except from this monster's effect, you can special summon this card from your hand. If you do, inflict damage equal to damage they just took. Grammar Nazi. A really handy thing off things here. Look, let's face it, I believe there's a freaking Trickstar who has this sort of effect, so this is just the same thing but for Windwitches, and instead of burning for 200, it burns for more. So very handy effect. Hey, if Trickstars get to burn you to no end, why can't Windwitches? They did before it was cool. And for the record, burning is never cool. Ironically, or fittingly, I don't know. Next. Windwitch Frostbell, level 3 wind attributes. Spellcaster effect, 1500 attack, 400 defense. If this monster is normal summoned, you can special summon one wind attribute monster from your hand, except Windwitch Frostbell. Very handy, rather than going into instant synchro plays. You can only special summon one wind attribute monsters for the rest of this turn. When this monster is summoned, inflict 200 points of damage to your opponent for each special summon monster on the field. I believe that's Lapis Lazuli, or the Gem Knight Fusion one that just like, I'm going to burn you for every special summon monster on the field, which is basically the entirety of the field, because that's how you play Yu-Gi-Oh! Nowadays. Anyway, this is really handy, considering, again, quick special summon. Granted, you're limited to wind attribute monsters for the rest of the turn, but that's probably going to be your entire deck. And a quick burn. Not much more to say here. Very handy, and people would probably run it just for the first effect and then immediately forget, why can't I go into, like, my Dark Rebellion? It would happen to me. I do that sometimes. But anyway, good card. Next. Windwitch Bridgesbell, level 3 wind attribute monster. Spellcaster Tuner effect monster with 1000 attack, 200 defense. If this monster is summoned, you can special summon one wind attribute monster from your GY. Once per turn if your opponent activates a monster effect that would negate or destroy whilst this card is in your GY and you control a wind attribute monster, you can special summon this card from your graveyard, and if you do, negate that effect but banish it when it leaves the field. That is a fucking mouthful. Okay, so if this monster is summoned, you can special summon one wind attribute monster from your graveyard. Very handy effect right off the bat, just getting a free monster again. If the last one was good, this one's good too, especially because it works in the graveyard. And if your opponent activates a monster effect that would negate or destroy a card while this card's in your graveyard, you can negate that card effect and then bring this card out. Fuck you. I just think this thing, I think to myself, oh good, a new shutdown for hand traps. Considering Konami butchered the only counter to hand traps, fuck you, Konami. That is like my biggest issue with that ban list, besides the fact that Goki's got off easy and for some reason Sky Strikers were the one to get hit. What? Usually it's the one that wins rolls that gets hit, but for some reason, no, it's the deck that was just kind of there by the end. I mean, yeah, Sky Strikers were hard early on, but usually after a while, our new deck surpasses. But anyway, that doesn't stop the fact that this is a really handy card, all things considered. I mean, granted, the only activation cost is that you have to control another wind monster, but if a card is getting negated or destroyed, odds are you're going to have wind monster. Well, then again, it could be a spell or a trap, but you get what I'm trying to say here. Good card. Next. If you control no monsters, target one Windwitch Synchro monster and one Windwitch non-Synchro monster in your graveyard. Special summon those targets in defense position, however their effects are negated. AKA, bring out a Windwitch Synchro monster, then bring out a Windwitch Tuner monster, and go into another Synchro. There is no other way to explain this. I mean, yeah, their effects are negated and they're in defense mode, but when is being in defense mode ever hurt you in Yu-Gi-Oh? And when is having your effect negated when you're in a Synchro archetype ever really hurt you that badly? I mean, it can hurt, but odds are it doesn't. It's a really good card, all things considered, and the fact that it's a quick play means you can just use it on your opponent's turn and then just get some quick defense up. So if you're like attacked directly, you just be like, okay, I have to survive. So, really handy. Next. Sign of the Wind. Normal spell. Reveal one level 4 or lower Windwitch monster in your hand. Special summon one Wind monster with the same name from your deck. I don't even need to explain this is a good card. You show a Windwitch monster in your hand, you get the same one in the field. I mean, granted, it could be a little better considering the fact that you'd have to, like, you could just reveal a tuner and then special another tuner, and as we know, you can't tune with 2 tuners unless the monster that it was synchro summon needs 2 tuners, or you could just need a tuner while you have a normal monster. There are certain scenarios where this would be bad, but I can also see scenarios where this would be good. Like you reveal one where you have the same thing, but you reveal that one because you also have a tuner monster in your hand. You want to go for synchro. There's very handy use for this thing. Plus, deck thing is always very handy in Yu-Gi-Oh. People play that grass looks greener with 60 cards to get a smaller deck. That is how desperate we are to get it. It is the most ironic thing ever. I want a smaller deck. Let me put more cards in there and then just put the grass in there to help it out. Okay? I like to question your methodology, but I know why it was. But this is a pretty handy card. I could see it being run up maybe 1 or 2, though, because it is a little situational. But still. Next. Tuning. Normal spell. Banish 1 Windwitch tuner monster from your graveyard, and if you do, draw 2 cards. You cannot activate monster effects for the rest of this turn, except wind attribute monsters. That's a pretty fair balanced trade. You banish a Windwitch tuner monster, you draw 2, and you can't use monster effects. That's a little harsh though, but it leaves only the wind monster safe. So getting rid of the hell that's supposed to be the entire archetype, I guess that's fair. Just kind of feels a little weird. It's like, yeah, you don't get monster effects. Like, that's a weird cost. Like, usually it's something else. Like, I don't know, you can't special summon is the most thing, but just like, no, you don't get effects. Although I guess everything is a beat stick by the end of the day. It's not like you can't summon the, I don't know, a Dark Rebellion. You just can't use its effect. I just use that as an example because that's the first monster that come to mind. But yeah, Pot of Greed for the Archetype, but just having a tuner monster in the graveyard. That's not bad. It's a really good card. Song of the Windwitch. If you special summon a Windwitch monster, Witch. Sorry. You special summon a Windwitch monster, add 1 Windwitch monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand, but it cannot be special summoned this turn. Okay, wait, what? Okay, so let me read that again. Sorry, kind of blanked out. If you special summon a Windwitch monster, add 1 Windwitch monster from your deck to your deck or graveyard to your hand, but it cannot be summoned this turn. So you get a free search for a Windwitch monster, but it can't be played. Fairy of the Spring, anyone? That again, people play Fairy of the Spring just to get Snatch Steal, so I can see people playing this. You can banish this card from your GY, target 1 Windwitch monster you control, and if you do, any effect damage that monster inflicts is doubled. You can only use this effect of Song of the Windwitch once per turn. Everything's okay up there. Very handy effect, and I can see somehow Trickstar is somehow turning this into making a Windwitch thing. Like, they print some card, be like, make this monster any other type of monster you call, and people being like, I'm going to put a Windwitch card in my Trickstar deck. I don't think they do it, but you can never tell with Konami sometimes. But anyway, this is really handy, just the fact of the double burn factor of it. Oh geez, I'm gonna be, like I said earlier, oh no, I'll be taking 2,400 damage. No, you're gonna be taking 4,800. Fuck! Just, jeez Louise. It's a very handy card and very worth playing. Next. During your end phase, inflict 300 points of damage to your opponent for each wind attribute monster you special summon this turn. Very handy considering if you special summon a lot of Windwitch monsters, but none of them are left in the field, you can still do a lot of burn, because usually it's however monsters you still have in the field or something like that. So very good off the bat. If a Windwitch monster you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can send this card to the graveyard instead. So also some protection for the Windwitches, considering the Windwitches don't have any protection. I mean, in a synchro archetype, you're not focused on protection, you're focused on summon spamming, but you should also focus on protection if you're stuck with just the normal summons. So, you know, if it's early game, odds are people will be focusing on the second effect if you, like, brick early turn. But if it's late game, the first effect, I can see the first effect being more handy. Or if you just get a good hand the first turn, the first effect is very handy. Both effects are still very good, though, so this is worth running. Next. If your opponent special summons a monster while you control Windwitch monster, if that monster has its effect negated and its attack points reduced by half. So it's lost wind, basically, but for Windwitches. I don't have to explain what Windwitch does. Lost Wind does, although Lost Wind only works on the extra deck. Well, this works on any special summon. They special summon from the hand, deck, graveyard, banish zone. It doesn't matter. It's shut down. And so that's a really handy thing from the get-go. They have no effects, and their attack points are reduced by half. Just a really handy card, and the only cost is by having a Windwitch monster. So, again, good. Next. Synchro monsters. Windwitch Archetype, level 5 wind attribute. Spellcaster Synchro Tuner effect. But if only with Spark Pendulum and Flip and Ritual as well. God, a mouthful this would become. And Union, and Spirit for some reason. Oh god. Anyway, 1400 attack, 1200 defense. It has 1400 attack and 1200 defense on a level 5 monster. One Windwitch Tuner monster plus one Wind non-tuner monster. Once per chain during your opponent's main phase, you can immediately after this effect resolves, synchro summon using this card, or do you control? This is a quick effect. Synchro summon using this card you control. Well, it makes it sound like I could only be using this card, then again I guess that would be the case for Formula Synchro and stuff like that. When this monster is synchro summoned, add one wind attribute monster from your deck to your hand, and if it is a Windwitch monster, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its attack. So this thing is a fucking Formula Synchro. And not to mention you can immediately use it as a Synchro summon. I mean, like those sort of things, which is why I give it like the Formula Synchron deck designation, or Excel Synchron, or every Crystron card ever, except Needle Fiber, because Needle Fiber has too many other things to be going for him to also be a tuner. If they could make a tuner Link monster, they would have made a tuner Link monster. Anyway, not to mention if this card synchro summon, you get a free search, and then burn on top of that. Very handy card, very worth running. Although the level 5 thing's a bit I mean, granted, you could go into Crystal Wing 4 with this thing being the tuner, so odds are not terrible, just feels kind of weird. Anyway, next. Windwitch White Bell. Hey, that's racist. Level 7 Wind Attribute. Spellcaster Synchro Effect Monster. 2800 attack, 1100 defense. I was kidding earlier, obviously. One Wind Tuner monster, plus one or more non-tuner monsters. Granted, this doesn't have to be Wind Attributes, so you can fucking use Curse of Dragon. I wouldn't recommend it, though. When this monster is synchro summoned, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the number of synchro materials used to summon it times 300. So, worst case scenario, you could do 600 damage, and if you, given the fact that it's a level 7, you could do a lot of damage. Somehow, I don't know how, but if you somehow manage to bring this thing out using each individual level, well, it's a max of 6, 5 of my main monster summons. So if you manage to do that, it would be 1500 damage if you use the most amount of materials. And at that point, you might as well play that one trap card that also boosts your attack points for every synchro material it was using its summon. Synchro Strike, I think it was. Anyway, just like, that's a lot of burn. Okay, so equal the number times 300. Your opponent cannot activate the your opponent cannot negate the special summon of a wind attribute monster. Sorry. You guys spat, obviously. So while this thing is also on the field, it also says you're not negating shit. Or maybe just its own summon, but still, well, that's very handy of also just being like, I am also going to protect you. I'm not just here for the burns or the beating. That's really handy. So yeah, good card obviously. Next. Windwitch Blitzbell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 wind attributes. I want a Windwitch Christmas Bell. Spellcaster Synchro Effect Monster. 3400 attack, 1800 defense. One Wind Tuner monster plus one or more non-tuner Windwitch monster or monsters, obviously. Must be synchro summoned and cannot be special summoned by other ways, or just synchro summoned other ways. When this monster is synchro summoned, shuffle all monsters your opponent controls into the deck, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the number of monsters shuffled by this effect times 500. Your opponent cannot activate card effects in response to this effect. Also, you cannot attack the turn you activate this effect. If you just remove that last line of dialogue, I would have sworn to God you just took Brandy Anderson from advice. Jesus Christ. On summon fucking, like, Rainbow Dragon or something like that. Just, yeah, you know this entire field you've been having, put it all away, motherfucker. And if it was all extra deck stuff, they're really screwed. It's like, put all your shit away, and you're going to get burned for every card. Considering how in Yu-Gi-Oh! We have a lot of big boards, that's going to be very easy to do. And they're going to be taking a lot of damage. Let's see, there are 5 spell and trap zones, the field spell zone, the main monster zones, and the extra deck zone, and the extra monster zone. And let's see, equal the number of monsters shuffled by this effect, so it's including your cards too. So there are 12 zones, 24 times 2, 24 times 500 is a lot. If you want me to do the math, I was never good at math. A fuck ton. If someone wants to look up the calculator, go look up the calculator. I think there would be 48,000 points of damage. Ouch. Chainburn has a new archetype. Let's give the Chainburn... Chainburn would be playing Chainburn regardless. I think Chainburn could be at 1, they'd still play it somehow. Or if Chainburn is at 1. Never mind. The main point is this is fucking disgusting about how high this level can go, considering all the things. Well, okay, I should have read a bit more thing. Even the number of monsters shuttled by this effect. So, you can't do 4,800, I can't read. Lovely, I have one job as a frickin' reactor to be able to read, and I can't even do that right. Clearly, I am worth all of the time. But still, that's a max of 3,000 damage. And that's something to scoff. Well, actually, no, the max is 6,000 damage, considering 12 zones and 12 times 5 is big. So, yeah. Clearly, it is worth running, and it's the definition of a boss monster. 3,400 attack, and it can do about 6,000 burn, unless my math is off, which is more than likely the case. But still, Jesus Christ. Oh, yeah. As far as the video, how do you top
Thank
that?
you for watching yet another episode of What If Support. If you've got your own suggestion of which archetype I should give support to, drop a comment down below. As for a quick update on Yu-Gi-Oh! Unleashed, I am just waiting to get a few more pictures for the next episode. So the next episode will be coming out. I just need a little bit more time. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time.
I always know that you make it more than worth the wait. This is some really good support, all things considered, though. Again, and we realize that I can't math, so that's always a plus to know that I am a fucking dumbass. So, yeah, good WindWitch support. I'd say the next thing, if you were going to do all the girls, would be Lyrisk, but since they have so many OTKs, fuck them. How is it that archetype has like 7 cards, and yet they still have so much OTKs, but WindWitches are just there for Crystal Turbo? It's like, what? And Melodies just kind of exist. And Lunalight's another OTK deck, but at least Lunalights will let you fight back. Just like, it's ridiculous. Arc 5, you gave us a lot of mediocre decks and then a lot of overpowered decks. Like, Ciphers may be shit, but there were some really good ones in there too. Don't ask me to name any of them, but there are some really good archetypes in there. I mean, Phantom Knights have some good support. Perform powers are still dangerous despite the Pendulum. And you will not tell me that Konami hates Pendulum summoning when the only thing they hate is Electromite. Like, Electromite is also part of OTKs. So, any card that causes an OTK deserves to be banned, or at least limited. Which is also Topologic Bomber Dragon, considering that thing has a lot of dangerous loops with it too. But I'm getting far off topic. My main point here is this is good support, and I look forward to the next episode. Or at least, I look forward to it. Good job. See you guys next time.